Okay, so what's the date today? December 11th of 2025. Yeah. And the title, I think the volume is working. The title of this video is Involuntary, what was it? Healthcare? Something like that. Oh, involuntary care. Actually, I should change that. Involuntary care in the province of BC, British Columbia, Canada. That's going to be one long title. Involuntary care in the province of British Columbia, Canada. That is going to be my title. So I will change that later. And then / medical assistance in dying. Okay? Yeah. So to begin with, this is just a follow-up from the live stream that I did yesterday. Yeah. Because in light of what's going on with the eye surgery and the many hoops that I have to jump through in order to be able to, I guess, qualify for it, people. Yeah, qualify. What? What if I fail the test? Then what happens? Are they going to deny me access to that situation? Or are they going to come in with their recitation team and save me in light of what's going on in the world, in Canada, and how people are moved along to fit an agenda that creates profit or helps to bring down the federal and provincials and territorials budgets? You know what I'm saying? So basically what I want to do, and of course, ain't nobody watching, so I'm sitting here talking to myself. What's new, pussycat, on YouTube? Right? I mean, what do? Do you just sit and wait for people to show up and just let the stream just run itself through, or what? I don't know. I don't know. All right. Is it the time of day? It's 9:10 a.m. Pacific time. So, lots of people are awake. Right? I'm just saying. So now I have to flip glasses around for the most part. I don't think these ones will work for this computer. Well, no, actually I can probably use this pair for the computer as well as to try and read first what I want to read, and then I'm going to do some screen shares to add on to whatever it is that I'm trying to read here, okay, to make my point. To which, if I had to just say it in a nutshell before I get into the dirty details, 10 years ago, under the Liberal government, of the federal Liberal government of Canada, pretty sure that's where it started, 10 years ago, they introduced laws where people who were in palliative care, in hospice, and at the very end of their life kind of thing, or that type of situation, were able to get assisted suicide through the help of the healthcare system and quote-unquote professionals. I don't know what you need to go to school for that, to be a professional, but anyway, And I think they did it based on a few people out of millions fighting for that right. Because at one point, it was illegal to have somebody help you. It didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter if it was a loved one in your house, your husband, your wife, your child, your mother, your father, a doctor. It was illegal to help somebody to, you know, put themselves to sleep. All right. Some people fought that law, and I guess it cracked something where, I want to say the devil worshippers got through that crack, started to multiply and proliferate, and now they've basically made it where it's a given. Anybody can request it, including children and teenagers. Mm-hmm. Yep. They're going after the 12-year-olds and trying to protect the 12-year-olds to be able to do it to themselves, go someplace, some clinic, I guess a hospital, because there's only so many places you can go. Maybe they even have clinics now just for that purpose. Think of Soylent Green, okay? Where people can go and just request that if it's not being offered to them. And they're pushing it on kids and making it available for kids where the kids don't even have to tell their parents. Okay, you got my message through comments. Thank you, Bailey. Thank you for being here. We're not doing a 4-hour live stream, but remember yesterday through chat on the comments, I said I wanted to kind of just pick up a little bit more on this because honestly, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies just around how I'm being basically forced. You can't say egged on. You can't say corralled into it, but it's like a do or die situation. Like I'm going to be talking to my eye specialist on the phone later on this afternoon. So maybe I might even do a live stream later on in the evening. Like, my time, I'm Pacific time, right? Maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 in around that time, try and keep it a little early just to do a follow-up with what the eye specialists have to say, because I'm not impressed. I'm sorry. You got me going now to a doctor that clearly wants to gaslight me into doing something that I don't want, right? And then get insulted because I'm saying no, because I don't want to take his quote unquote recommendations, because that's all they are. And he's taking it freaking personal and trying to give me his life story as to what it was like to have a flu when he was 19 years old and blah, 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 as if I never had one and I'm 63. Okay. I'm just saying, what makes your story more important than my story besides that point, if he's not going to drop me as a patient or be a butthead for however long he's my doctor for, unless I can completely conform to this individual with every recommendation, request, whim, order, whatever he puts at me, as he remains to be a quote unquote family doctor, because I'm just supposed to trust him through and through. And right? What? I might as well say nothing to him. Oh, yes, I'm master. Yes, I'm doctor. Okay, doctor. You want me to do this, doctor? Okay, doctor. Yeah. That's what he wants from me. Because just talking to him on the phone yesterday, I'm just here for a little while, a little bit, unfortunately. Of course, we've got things to do, Bailey. That's okay. You go, and then you can come back and pick up on the video later, right? Because, it is what it is, right? I'm in the middle of doing laundry. I wanted to do this now so I can just get on with my day, right? Because I've got 2 phone calls coming in today. and I got laundry to do. I got a ham I have to cut up, and blah blah blah. Blah. And I just want to get it off my mind, and because I might not be having surgery, I just might cancel the surgery altogether. I just might. It depends on what this eye specialist has to say to me, because first of all, you're making me sign a consent form, right? Where if something goes bad, nobody's going to be held to account. Okay, that's the first thing. You already given me a one chance out of 200 where I'll be like completely injured for life. And as far as I'm concerned, pretty much every time I see you, my eyes get worse as much as you say you're trying to help me. And I'm not saying that he's making it worse, but through the agitation of the, looking in with the machine and putting in the drops and then the other machines and blah and blah, that all agitates my eyes, which make things worse. 3 machines at one time, go see him, puts in eye drops, which burns my eyes for over a minute in each eye. No wonder why I came home all blurry and it hasn't cleared out yet. Plus, he gives me a medicine that doesn't even really work for me, but it was the lesser of the 2 medicines for him to choose from in regards to bringing down quote unquote pressure. So, I'm hooped. It doesn't matter. I'm hooped either way, right? So, okay. I absolutely understand. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, I get this. I go without a family doctor for years and years because the one I had told me to take him to court. And, I went years without getting my disability form filled out for that. Right. And then when I had my eye doctor help me to try and fill it out, the province denied it because I didn't have a family doctor to fill it out. The eye doctor wasn't good enough. I needed a family doctor. So what could I do? You can't go to no clinics. What they've done out here, Bailey, is they've privatized healthcare, but they use public healthcare to stalk you in a rudimentary kind of way. And that's why I'm doing these videos, because when the BC, I'll get to your comment here in a minute. When the federal Liberal government brought in MAiD, which is medical assistance in dying, when they brought that in, it was only supposed to be for a few select specific people, right? That really just were in a lot of pain and suffering and, and blah, right? But over a period of 10 years, it's at the point now where they're pushing for 12-year-olds to get out from school, walk to the clinic, sign up with that, knock themselves out of, just have somebody kill them basically at 12 years old in some freaking clinic while their parents are sitting there waiting for them to come home from school. And then what? Does the clinic send a letter to the parents? Oh, well, your son didn't come home because, he's been sitting up in our morgue for the last week. We were wondering what happened to you. Why didn't you come and claim the body? What do you mean my he's been missing for a week? Well, we only did what the 12-year-old told us to do. We only did what the 15-year-old girl told us to do. This is Canada. Okay, right? Well, you've got, and they've expanded on their legislation. I don't have all that information. Let me read this first before you go, okay, Bailey? Because I love you, right? And I value your voice, right? And just your kindness and your support and everything, eh? I kind of understand. I have a new family doctor that I can't go for a follow-up where he wants to order a colonoscopy, schedule an appointment with a urologist. I'm just here for a follow-up. Oh, so you've got some doctor that wants you to take extra tests, blah, 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 where you just want to touch base. Well, that's kind of how I'm feeling here. I'm having to do mammograms and pap tests and freaking who knows? Like, forget it. What? And the doctor yesterday got mad at me. He got, oh well, because I said, like, what's the problem? I said, well, it's not like I trust the healthcare system. Oh, well, you don't trust me? And I'm like, whoa, it's not that I don't trust you, because first of all, I don't even know the dude, but the few times that I've had an interaction with him, he's more interested in telling me that I've only got a 15-minute window, nothing more, nothing less, to talk about one issue and only one issue, and that's it. Okay, yeah. He reminds me of that all the time, as if I don't remember. So I have to book an appointment for my one little mole spot there. Andre thinks it's a bug bite. It's not a bug. And so it's some kind of mole, right? Pretty much. And I'm in the States. Yes. And this is why I'm doing this video, because in the United States of America, they are building internment camps to lock homeless people up, because Trump made it illegal to be homeless in the United States of America. So where are they going to put all these people? Into work camps. What do they call them? They're not officially outright calling them internment camps, but once you go through the gate, you don't get out. And when you go in, they're going to treat you like they did in the 1500s with the potato famine and all that crap. And when the Jews were going into the gas chambers, well, they didn't care before they went in. It's when they came into the concentration camp, they deloused them, and they did the little physicals on them and took what they wanted from them, and then they locked them up into the camp, and then they did what they wanted, to starve them and work them to death and blah and blah. Well, we're right back to that freaking time zone. That's the way I see it coming, people. Between what's happening to me right now and with the types of questions that they've got on this questionnaire, and if you put that right next to that involuntary care freaking thing that David Eby, which is the premier of the province of British Columbia, Canada, is expanding on in my province, in regards to involuntarily locking up mentally ill patients, or just those types, right? That whatever, right? And I have a little thing later I'll read for a bit. Just involuntary locking them up. And we already had that problem with 10,000 being illegally detained within the healthcare system before he's expanded on it. Okay. So you get involuntarily detained in the province of British Columbia, Canada, because you're arguing with your doctor, as your doctor's writing in your file that you're combative, I guess you could say paranoid, because you don't trust the healthcare system. So that would qualify to be paranoid if you really wanted to put it down and, sock it to the patient, right? And set them up for failure. I'm just saying, if you had an ulterior goal, right? Unreasonable, argumentative, not taking recommended, advice in terms of looking after themselves. So clearly, they're harming themselves by not taking this test, that test, blah, blah, blah. It could very well possibly be putting somebody at risk in the community, depending on whatever their diagnosis is. Do you see the rabbit hole that you're going down? Right? And then they lock you up. Well, with MAiD flourishing and going 100 miles a minute, in terms of the legislation is getting broader and broader and broader, versus just helping somebody to kill themselves who are like really in that, 0.00001 of the general population, where they just can't stand living anymore because they're in constant pain and blah, 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 blah. Well, they took that, and instead of 0.00001, it's now freaking 16000.0001. In other words, you've got 16,000 people this last year killing themselves with the help of a freaking professional doctor, where you can just walk in and sign up. if they're not badgering you to do it. If they're not badgering you to do it. Okay. And that's the thing. They're starting to badger people to do it because they're targeting certain kinds of people to take them off the government dole. It doesn't matter if it's a disability payment. It doesn't matter if they're going to hospitals and sucking up tens of thousands of dollars for a million billion tests before they even do a 40-minute outpatient freaking surgery so they can send you home and $50,000 and then say, look, they're costing the government and the taxpayers too much money. So next time they come in, being that they answered this and they said they were depressed and they said this and they said that, we're just going to offer them MAiD. Yeah, because they're trying to make it so that by 2027, because they keep adding on to the legislation, right? With this medical assisted in dying legislation, they keep adding in and making it broader and broader and broader and making it more available. And there's incentives for these people that push that shit and get paid to do that crap. Okay, the more people you can kill, the more money you can make. The more abortions you can do, the more money you make. Is that not true? The more cars you sell, the more money you make. Right? If you don't make the money, you don't get it. Okay. So I get it 100%. Yeah. I'll check in later, Judy. Love you. Okay, love you too. See you soon. All right. So and exactly, you're in the United States and with these internment camps being built to house homeless people, whether they're just homeless people that are stressed out and their immune systems are low, but they're still trying to hold it together, but they can't house themselves because of the corruption within our society in general when it comes to affordable housing. And then you've got the ones that are the drinkers and are alcoholics and those kind. And then, then you've got your addicts. And then of course you've got your mentally ill. So what I'm trying to say is you've got a modge podge of everybody out on the streets, whether they're in Canada or whether in the United States of America. And for whatever strange reason, our politicians seem to think now that they can start rounding us up like poor paupers, delouse us before we go into their facilities, regardless of what you call them, and then either put us to work, right? Internment camps, work camps, there's a lot of those popping up in the United States, getting ready for the flood of people being swooped up off the streets, okay? Canada, we don't call them that. We call them involuntary care facilities. Oh, wow, geez, yeah, okay. Involuntary care facilities. But the one that we have in British Columbia, Canada, that they're expanding on is actually connected to a correctional facility. And they've got two parts. They've got the care facility, the involuntary care facility for the criminals at the correctional site. Andre, help him. And then we've got, I guess, just for homeless people or whoever goes to the hospital looking for help, they don't want to deal with them. Someone like Sierra or whoever, could be me, my doctor. Oh, she doesn't want to do this, and she doesn't want a pap test, and she doesn't want a mammogram, and she doesn't want her poop checked, and she doesn't want to take a shingle shot, and she doesn't want this, and she's too argumentative, and clearly there's something, and she's paranoid. She don't trust me because she's not doing what I'm telling her to do. And then another doctor comes along and he goes, oh, yeah, really? No problem. Here, I'll give you my signature. You sign. And between the two of us, we can get the bitch locked up and teach her a lesson. Yeah. And because they've got MAiD, medical assistance in dying, I'm in the facility now. I can't escape because I've been involuntarily detained, right? Clearly, I'm agitated. Right? My personality is not going to change, but they're not, right? They're just doing what they're programmed to do because there's going to be robots in there. Not everybody is human. Don't fool yourself. And they're going to say, yeah, well, I think it's your time to sign up to MAiD. Yep. Yep. You can do that. And if you don't, we're going to make your life miserable while you're in this involuntary care facility. We're going to drive you crazy. Right? You know what I mean? There's all kinds of things we can do to poke the bear to make you break down and say, okay, I can't take it no more. Just kill me. And so what does the facility get out of it? More money. And if it's a government funded facility, what does the facility get out of it? More tax dollars, right? Either or, they win. It doesn't matter. They win. Andre, will you help him, please? Help him. Okay? And this is why I'm talking about this, because I don't think people are connecting the dots here. I really don't. But with what's happened to my family, in regards to, Shimei and Sierra and Uncle John, and just the illegal apprehension of Andre, and, Amari's birth injury, and, how I've been treated, mistreated, denied access to freaking healthcare because, doctors can just kick you off to the curb when they don't want to be doctors, right? Or they can play bullies. Can you help him? Well, I don't know why he's whining. He had a bottle. Stop whining. And what it does is it goes into a database, right? And everybody knows these days with these databases that, they suck up all the hydro, right? They're building these databases that use more hydro than the cities that are around them. Okay? And this is what makes me want to read some of this crap for eye surgery. Okay? Only because I have a family doctor that they can follow up on it to, I guess, see if I'm telling the truth. Right? Because the last time I had eye surgery, I didn't have no pap test. I didn't have no mammogram. I didn't have no blood test. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't get inoculated. Blah, 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 blah. Right? So why now? The only thing is because they can use a doctor to gather more information, as well as everything physical about you. What's on paper is just what I say, right? They have to take it for face value. But if they force me to go to a doctor to get it done in terms of blood tests, this, that, and everything, blah, 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 mammograms, pap smears, blah, blah, who knows, right? The guy won't stop. He's already on a roll. And I'm like, holy crap, I don't think so. It's not happening. So they can put that in the database, right? And then cross compare, I would think, to whatever it is that you're saying as you fill out these forms before you go for surgery, whether it's like a serious surgery or just a day surgery. You know what I mean? I could be going in to get something done off my toenail. I got a problem with my toenail, and they got to go in there and, blah, 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 right? You know what? Do I have to fill out the same kind of freaking form? That's day surgery, and go see my family doctor and have another physical just so that you can deal with my toenail because it's falling off because of some fungus or something, and it needs to be treated, from a hospital's perspective. Right? Like, how many times would you have to go to get a freaking, what is that called? Checkup. Because this is beyond a checkup. A physical. Each and every time. And what are they doing with that information? Especially if you're not copacetic with it. Especially if you don't agree with it. Especially if you don't want everything that's being presented to you in terms of, well, you've got 10 things you have to do before you can get your surgery, because if you don't do it, you're out of luck. But I thought it's public health care. Taxpayers are paying for it. I'm saving the taxpayers by saying, no, I don't want it. But then it opens up a can of worms where the doctor can start, well, clearly you don't care about you're a danger to yourself. A person that's a danger to themselves because they refuse to do each and every single thing that I request of them, right? right? In terms of test this, that, and everything else under the sun. So it'd be very easy for a doctor to say that you're a danger to yourself because you're not taking his advice, recommendations, or his orders. It doesn't matter. It's all the same, right? And therefore, that puts you in a mental state where eventually, through the legislation of this involuntary care situation that they got going on with building in more psychiatric beds and all this other crap. Can you please do something with him? Move him. Okay? Give him a toy. I don't know. He's probably just doing it on. Okay? And they lock you up because you're a danger to yourself, because you won't take 15 tests to go get your toe fixed. It could be that simple. And once they get you, they're just going to keep on adding in the negatives and very little positives. And then they're going to approach you because you're depressed, because it says right here, you're depressed. You know, clearly you sound paranoid, so you must be a schizophrenic because you don't trust us. You don't trust the doctors. You don't trust the staff. You don't trust the system, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, that's proof that you're a schizophrenic and you're just perpetually paranoid, which means, you know, you'll never get better. And as a doctor, I'm looking at this and you know, and you're aggressive, and like, who wants to have aggressive people running around in a involuntary care facility? So that's another strike against you. And we only need 7 of them before we can, you know, legitimately take you out. Lock you up either forever and drive you crazy until you want to kill yourself. And then when they come and say, well, here, we got an alternative for you because clearly the pills aren't working, you know, and you're so damn miserable, we'll just help you to take yourself out. It's legal. The government of Canada, they made it legal where you can just sign up and you'll be dead in 3 days. Don't worry about your body. We'll dispose of it. We'll pay for it. Because you just saved the taxpayers hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, being that you're not going to be around for the next 10, 15, 25 years, or maybe even 50 years. And if you're 12 years old, if you're 12 years old, if you're 12 years old, or you're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 13, 14, how much money do you think the taxpayers are going to save off of that kid being wiped out off the planet? Being that they came in depressed and were feeling a little suicidal because the neighborhood bullies were picking on him and he couldn't cope with it. He couldn't cope with growing up and learning how to, you know, tough it out and navigate around the multiple bullies that are like flourishing everywhere you go. Oh, if you're going to take out anybody, take out the freaking bullies. Why are you taking out the victims? Right? It's not a crime to be depressed. It's not a crime to be discouraged. It doesn't warrant being executed. Let's put it that way. Huh? Right? But for whatever reason, the government of Canada has made it a free-for-all. Anybody can apply. And the government will pay for it. And they'll dispose of your body. And you don't have to tell anybody. Yeah. You don't have to tell anybody. And if they're not going to get rid of you that way, they're just going to involuntarily lock you up, drive you crazy, and then eventually you'll say, yeah, get rid of me because I can't stand living here no more. You've had me involuntarily detained for the last 5 years of my life, and it's been miserable as like hell. Yeah, sign up me now. Yeah, okay. So what? Are they harvesting? Well, they are. They are harvesting organs from this system of involuntary assisted suicide. They call it dying. They dropped the word suicide because it was too harsh. They're trying to smooth it over, make it sound like it's professional. Yeah, okay. Professional. Professional. I'm going for eye surgery, right? You know what I'm saying? And you want me to have a fucking mammogram. Okay, there's nothing professional about that. What is going to have a mammogram going to do for my eye, right? right? So if I say no, does that mean I don't get eye surgery? Well, I don't know. I'm going to find out because I'm going to talk to my eye doctor. I'm not having a mammogram. Hell, I don't even want this guy looking up my coochie. Forget it. You're not doing no freaking pap test. I don't, whatever. If it means I lose you as a doctor because I say no, 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 and you don't like the word no because you think that you own my body and you have a right to tell me what to do with my body, when to do it, how to do it, why I should do it, and I say no, and you don't like it, and you're going to start mistreating me by gaslighting me and getting snitty and snotty with me, and then hang up on me. Oh, and I'm supposed to trust you. Okay. I said I don't trust the healthcare system. But when you're acting like that towards me because I say no, I don't have to give you reasons why. That's my business. Right? If you were a good doctor, you would make me feel comfortable where I'd tell you what I was on my mind so that you'd understand why I feel that way. And you would respect it and you wouldn't push it. Right? That's what doctors are supposed to do. Right? But he's pushing it. He's getting something out of it. I don't know what the reward is, but it's not for me. I can tell you that right now. If anything, he's gonna make it where he's gonna put my life in jeopardy of being one of those individuals somewhere down the line who is going to be involuntarily detained in a care facility that's connected to a correction facility, as they're making most of the patients, because it's going to be a revolving door, because that's their problem to homelessness. That's their problem to mental health issues. That's their problem to a lopsided economy where you will own nothing and be happy. And if you can't be happy by owning nothing, you will be locked up, you will be punished until you sign up to MAiD. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I don't think people see the connections between the internment camps in the United States of America, where once you're off the streets as a homeless person, being locked up into those facilities, which are also being dubbed as work camps, that are fenced in. In other words, you can't just leave. You can't leave. That's why it's called an internment camp. That's why it's called an involuntary care facility. You can't leave until they say you can leave. Issues never get better. You will never leave. But as more people are being flushed out of their houses, becoming homeless, distraught, own nothing, be miserable, and all those negative emotions, depressed, scared, whatever, well, they're going to have to put them into that facility, but it will be full. It will be full. So what, they're going to build another one, or are they just going to knock them off with MAiD? So don't be surprised in the United States of America if that program doesn't show up on your doorstep pretty soon, because they go hand in hand. And that's the point of this video. I'm trying to show people, for the ones that are caring. Okay. For the ones that don't care, they're laughing. They think it's great because they're getting away with it. You know, that's what they want. They're making money off of it. You know, they're the enemy. They see you as the enemy, but they're the enemy to humanity. They really are, right? They're the ones that walk with the devil on the earth, right? And do the devil's bidding. Okay. And they're the ones that puts people's lives at risk, because if I get denied access to a public hospital to have eye surgery because it's important, because I refuse certain tests, all tests, one test, 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter, right? If the guy wants me to take 10 tests and I refuse 5 of them, so what? I'm not healthy? I can't have my surgery? Or what if I decide to only take 2 tests and I leave the other 8 behind? For sure, I don't get to go to the hospital and get eye surgery. I'm going to talk to the eye specialist, because if that's the kind of hospital that he works for, then you need to find another hospital so I can go and just get my eye surgery and be done with it. And when I'm ready for my pap test, my decision, I will go for one. If I have a good relationship with my family doctor, right? And, I've known him for a year or two or whatever, or 6 months or whatever, and the subject of a pap test come up, he'll be like, well, when was the last time you had a pap test? Well, honestly, to be honest with you, I can't even remember. Probably, well, when I had Tisha. I had Tisha when I was 35. I was 35 years old when I gave birth to Tisha. So it would have been in and around that time. And I'm 63. So probably 25 years or more, at least. Right? What? I can't go for day surgery because of that? Right? When was the last time you had a mammogram? You're 63. Well, I had one when I was young, so long ago I can't even remember. It didn't make sense to me, and I never wanted them again. So anytime a doctor offered it to me because I was getting older, I said no, because I felt the risks were more related to that procedure versus going natural and dealing with whatever comes my way when it came. And so far, everything's fine, as far as I know. Okay? That's my prerogative. If anything, I maybe saved myself from getting breast cancer because I didn't do the mammograms. Because there are studies out there saying that they're not as reliable as they're played out to be in terms of prevention. Right? I'm just saying. So, now with all that said, for the ones that are still watching here, okay, one person, people are coming in and out. Now, they wanted me to fill out some forms, okay? So I'm filling out the forms. I'm not even aware. Stop it. Move him, please. Give him a toy. That's just whining. Maybe he has to poo. These are forms. Patient questionnaire, adult. Can you help him? I did. Okay. So, you start off with just standard questions, right? Standard questions. I'm like, okay. I think I don't remember doing it before. I must have. But anyway, I'm like, okay. So I'm reading them. Like, do you have any allergies? No. Right? Okay. Have you had surgery in the past? I put yes. And it was eye surgery, right? This, right? About 2.5 years ago. I just put eye, right? Have you or a blood relative had problems with local freezing or general anesthesia? I put no. Standard questions, right? Have you been diagnosed with sleep apnea? No, right? Do you have a CPAP machine? No, right? If you answered no to A and B, complete questions 1 to 4. Okay. Do you snore loudly? I left that blank because sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I also talk in my sleep sometimes. Okay. Do you often feel tired, fatigued, and sleepy during daytime? I put yes, but then that's because I do double shifts, right? I don't sleep a full hour, 8 hours, on a nice, comfortable bed with no interruptions. Okay, I sleep, I sleep for 2 or 3. No, I sleep for maybe 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and then I get up and I'm up anywhere from freaking, 9, 10, 12, 15, 13, 16, whatever. And then I get a little more sleep, maybe 1 or 2 hours. I sleep twice in a day, maybe 4 hours. The first sleep, get up, do whatever. And then I sleep another hour or 2 at best, maybe 3, depending on whatever. And then, yeah. And I'm like, I'm doing things, right? So that, and I, I drink a lot of coffee. I don't eat as much as I should, blah. But that's all to just do with lifestyle and workload, right? Responsibilities. Usually people who are busy have lots of responsibilities. They oftentimes don't get a lot of sleep, right? So I said yes there. But that would be a red flag for them. Oh my God, she's tired all the time. What's the matter with her? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm overworked. You ever stop to think about that? Maybe the gang stalking gets to me. It wears me down, makes me tired because, I got extra work. Every time I get gang stalked for one reason or another, the workload piles up. Right? Will you have, or are you being treated for high blood pressure? No. If I have anything, it's low blood pressure. When I used to get, I haven't had that done in years and years and years and years too. And in the past, it was low, not high. Right? Has anyone observed you stop breathing during your sleep? I asked Andre, do I stop breathing? He said no. Shush up. You're just whining. Probably has to poo. Okay. And then, have you or do you smoke? I put yes. Right? 49 years, people. 49 years. That's a long time. Okay. Ongoing breathing or lung problems? No. I get a little congestion, though, sometimes congestion because of, just the crud that I've been working in all the years, and dust, and, a lot of yard work, standing over a stove, just whatever. Obviously, smoking instigates it a bit, right? But I don't have like no I breathing problems and shit, right? I can breathe. All right. So what else we got here? The thing has changed here. So do I have asthma? No. Chronic obstructive lung disease? No. Okay, now this is me answering it, but they want me to go to a doctor to confirm my answers. So I guess to see if I'm lying. Right? I don't know. A hernia? No. Ongoing heartburn? No. I don't have any of that. Stomach ulcers? No. Okay. Cirrhosis? No. Everything's no. Kidney disease? No. I don't have that either. What else? Women. Could I be pregnant? No. Mm-mm. Although I got a man chasing me right now. And I said, oh my God, you going to chase me? And you think you might get lucky? And if you get lucky, I'd be that 63-year-old woman that would get pregnant. So I tell him, no, I don't want to get pregnant at 63. I appreciate you, flirting or whatever, or being fond of me, but I can't risk it. I don't want no more babies. my ovaries would wake up. Oh yeah. I'm too scared for that. Be quiet. Bleeding problems? No, I don't have. I don't have HIV, TB. I don't got none of that crap. Hepatitis C, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't got that. Thyroid problems? I don't think so. Okay. Diabetes? No. Yeah, no. I put no. Lupus? No. Rheumatoid arthritis? No, I don't have that. Osteoporosis? Well, I've always been thin, but no, not. I wouldn't say so. Not at this point. Muscle disease? No. I am losing my muscles only because, again, I don't eat enough, and the type of work that I do isn't as physical as it was when I used to work outside, but I'm still pretty strong for my age. Can you move him? Please? Are you able to climb 2 flights of stairs? I put yes. I could do that, no problem. Blood clots in lung or leg? No. Stroke or something else? No. Right? Right? Do I have cancer? No. Muscle disease? No. Right? Okay. So I asked that. Everything was no. for the most part. And then we go on to the next page. And what's this? Medications. The only medications I take are the 2 eye drops that this guy gave me. And this second one, because of the pressure going up, now again, because whatever he did the first time doesn't work, right? So I'm back on this one, which this one makes me tired. This one can make me dizzy, can make me tired, and make me sleepy. Yeah. So when I start getting real sleepy after using it, because I have to use it every 12 hours, right? I might miss a dose. And I told him that, right? If I find that I'm getting sleepy because of it, then I'll just miss a dose to clean my system out. And I'm only taking it because, he's saying that if I don't, the pressure won't go down and I'll go blind. So therefore, he wants me to do the surgery because he doesn't even trust the drops. Okay. But I have to be a marathon runner in tip-top shape and be willing to forfeit my personal medical information for a database that might be used against me at a later date as the gang stalkers in the community continue to wear me down, just mess with me over here and mess with me over there. And next thing you know it, I'm going to really lose everything. And ain't nobody going to be around to pick up the pieces. So where are they going to put me? In an old folks home? As if I don't got pension plans to tap into to pay for those old folks homes. So they're not going to put me there. Hell no. They're not going to give me that kind of health care. They put me in an involuntary facility because I'm argumentative and I call them on their crap. And I can put 2 and 2 together and see what this is in relation to how collecting the data, because okay, so you heard me read the standard. Those were basic standard questions, blah 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 blah, right? You know what I'm saying? But but they have to be fact checked before I get the surgery. They have to be fact checked because I could be a patient that could be lying. So that's the only thing that I can think of. They're falsely accusing me of lying by not taking for face value the answers that I gave them before this day surgery, right? That's no more than 40 minutes. I'm out of there within 3 hours. So, but I have to lay myself out on a sacrificial table where they can dissect every little piece of me to make sure that I'm not lying and that I guess you could say healthy. And that's assuming that I survive that dissection. Okay. Right. Just so I can get eye surgery and maybe survive that without any complications, because it's not a 100% guarantee that there won't be no complications. All right. So what's here? Pain. So here we go. So do you take any over-the-counter prescribed medications? No. Once in a blue moon, I'll take a Tylenol, right? And they're asking for pain. I put no. I don't, because I heal fast. If I hurt myself within a day or 2 or 3, depending on what it is, I'm good. Even cuts, I heal really fast. Yeah. In the past 2 weeks, have you had pain in any part of your body? Most days, no. Have you taken or used any medication for pain? No. After seeing these doctors, though, I will be. Have you done other things or used other products to help reduce your pain? No. I have a little bit of irritation going on since seeing the eye specialist with those machines and everything, but it's not like pain that makes me think of pain, right? It's irritated. It can throb sometimes depending, because I do computer work and stuff too, right? And I'm always using dollar store glasses and and blah and blah and blah, and it's hard for me to focus, and different light spectrums can agitate, right? Okay, so what else we got here? Eating and drinking, nutrition, hydration. Have you lost weight recently without trying? No. And then yada yada yeah. Okay, so we'll go on to the next page. It's all to do with whatever it is. The answer was no, so there is nothing to mark as yes. Okay. Any weight loss, whatever you want to call it, would be related to just aging. You tend to get a little smaller. But when they illegally apprehended Andre in 2010, I was 105 pounds. That's usually my standard weight, about 105 pounds in 2010 before they took Andre. And within 6 months, I went down to 92 pounds. Oh, yeah, 92 pounds. And then when we got him back 15 months later, I inched back up to 98 pounds, right? And then Uncle John was medically kidnapped, and my weight dropped right back down to basically 92 pounds because of the stress. Yeah. Just saying. Okay, stop whining. You're just whining. No. Are you got a poo? Is that it? Going to the toilet, right? In the past 2 weeks, have you had any problems with that and urinating? No. Okay. Moving around. How mobile are you? Well, it says, do you usually use a walker? Oh, no. Do you usually use a walking aid such as a cane or walker? No. No, I don't. Sometimes I'll use the cane when I go out of the house, because when I'm walking on the road or I'm coming into steps, things blur, like steps that don't have lines to highlight where the step ends, and it's just gray on gray on gray on gray, for example. Andre, can you please move him? Okay? I'm almost done this. All right? Like, I swear he's doing this on purpose. He can get that way sometimes. Please? Andre! Okay. He needs his little talking bear. We need to find that. I think it needs batteries. If he had his little talking bear, he'd be very happy right now. Okay, so I put no because I don't, right? Unless, like I say, maybe I go out and it's just, right, helps with the blending of the of stairs and the curb of a road, because not everything is highlighted, right? Thinking, mood, and memory cognition. Okay, I put no. In the past 2 weeks, have you felt confused or uncertain about what is going on around you? No, I clearly understand that something suspicious is going on when it relates to gang stalking activities through various groups that have a collective agenda to, I guess, pump up something, maybe fill up those involuntary care facilities, or sign up to MAiD to save the taxpayers dollars so that they can bring in more immigrants and stacking them and packing them to get rich, because somebody's fueling this crap around, and there's not just one particular group. Okay, there's kickbacks that go through the whole system. When Uncle John was medically kidnapped, those people that facilitated that through Fraser Health Authority, whether it was at the Surrey Memorial Hospital or at the old Yale Care Facility, they got bribe money. Okay, Eleanor came into a inheritance. All right, she had money to pay out bribes to do what those people did to make it so that Uncle John disappeared into the healthcare system and died. Old, lonely, broke $0 man within 3 years from the time he was kidnapped. Yeah. I understand very well what goes on around in the province of British Columbia, Canada. And I can see what they're leading up to in light of what our federal government is trying to do with that MAiD, medical assisted medical assisted medical assistance in dying, medical assistance in suicide. Okay, like I said, they're expanding it to kids as young as 12, and by 2027, they're trying to earmark the legislation where it's wide open and running at full capacity within our healthcare system right across Canada, right? And what they're finding, though, the people that are following up on these statistics, is that they're past whatever they expected that they were going to be in 2025 with the amount of people signing up to it. But if you can go on YouTube and you come across articles where people are actually being coerced for it. People are going in, like me, for example, looking for services. Okay, you giving me a do or die situation with the eye, but now you want me to do all this other shit. And I'm at the point where I feel like if I don't do it, I won't get the service, right? And if I don't get the service, there's going to be consequences around that because they're going to blame me for it, for not taking their recommendations in terms of filling out the form. And now that I've filled out the form, you have to go and do each and every test that they want you to do, just to be able to have a 40-minute procedure with your clothes on. Okay. And then be kicked out of the hospital 3 hours later. I'm just saying, right? Thinking, mood, and memory. In the past 2 weeks, have you left? No, I have. No. I've been sad. I've been missing my family, my daughters, my whole family. I already did a video on that, but that's okay. I'm human. I'm entitled to miss my 5 kids and Uncle John and everybody happy. I'm entitled to be able to miss that from time to time. But just because I miss it doesn't mean that it's stopped my life, right? Doesn't stop me from doing what I need to do. It might put me back for a day or two as I, just recharge my battery, re-energize. Is there such a word? My psyche, you know how you do catch up sleep, right? You go, and you get behind on sleep. And then there just comes a time where you have to do that catch up sleep, and you'll find yourself sleeping for 10 hours straight. And everybody be like, oh, damn, you slept for like 10 hours. And you'd be like, yeah, that's because for the last month, I've been like going on 4 hours of sleep every night. I had to play catch up sleep. Well, that's the same kind of thing when you go into mourning, or you get sad, or you get even scared, right? You can only run on fear for so long before the body just wants to rest and shut itself down so that it can recharge. And then you can get up and get back to doing what you were doing. But just because you got scared and you shut down for a little while doesn't make it where you're incompetent. Doesn't make it where they have the right to put you into a freaking care facility, lock your ass up, and then come to you 2 years later after they tortured you in there, deprived you of this and deprived you of that, and called you this and called you that, and said, here, you tired of that? You tired of life? Here, we'll just sign up with that. The government made it real fucking easy. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of your body, because not only do we get paid to kill you, but we also get the rewards of capitalizing off of your body, because your body is more important to us in terms of financial dead than it is alive. And that's why we have illegal organ harvesting going on today. If they can't get it through, I suppose, donation, they'll just take it illegally. They're just making it where vulnerable people will say, yeah, sign me up to MAiD. And what do I care about my body? Sure, go ahead and take it. So they just made $1 million off your body. Yeah. They're going to sell your organs. They're going to sell your heart. They're going to sell your lungs. They're going to sell your kidneys. They're going to sell your gallbladder. They're going to sell your pancreas. They're going to sell your skin. They're going to sell your bones and your marrow. They're going to sell your eyes. They're going to sell your hair. They're going to sell your freaking nails so they can put it on their freaking Robotoys so that the Robotoy can look real because it's got real nails on it. They're going to take out your teeth like they took out MAiD's teeth, and they're going to put it in a Robotoy. So when the thing opens its mouth, you'll be like, oh, what beautiful teeth you have. Well, before you think about that one, take that face, put it on exposure with an editing program, and bring up what's underneath the skin, and you'd be surprised what you would see. Chances are it's a freaking robotoid. But you're not going to see that unless you take it to exposure. Yeah. Yeah. The more they get rid of us, the more they bring in the robotoids with the skin suits on and the fake freaking fingernails and the fake, well, they're not fake teeth. They belong to somebody else who probably signed up to MAiD and just happened to have nice teeth. Yeah. I'm just saying. Why else would you want MAiD and make it easy so that people can pillage bodies with no cost? With no cost. And then the leftovers, they'll just put it into some kind of food system, whether it's for dogs or for humans. You'll never know. Throw it into the vat so it can multiply with their fake meat. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, right? They don't like people like me that talk like that because, it's like, you're crazy. Yeah, well, if that's what you think. Might be your kid that will be signing up to MAiD at 12 years old. You'll be sitting there waiting for them to come home from school and they won't come. And you'll be like, damn, Judy was right. Now I don't have a kid no more. Unless it comes back like, what is that? The Salem, the pet cemetery. It'll come back like a pet like a pet from the pet cemetery, all zombified. There's your kid. That's what your healthcare did. That's what it created. That's what it cherishes. That's what it does. What is that? That's where its interest is. To see how much they can bring back from the dead. Or at least utilize dead body parts and that kind of crap for profit. If they can't bring them back, they want the profit. And the federal government just made it easy for dead bodies. It's enough that they're dying all over the streets with freaking fentanyl. But that's not enough. Because it's something else that's going on besides just what I mentioned. Right? There's something feeding off of us. Okay? All right. So anyway, have you found it hard to think, focus on things, or remember to do? No. Certain things. Have you felt sad, down, or not interested in life? Well, again, people feel those feelings from time to time. That is normal. That's a part of being human. That's your body shutting down, telling you it just needs to recharge itself so that you can get up. You know the old saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Face whatever's in front of you with a brave face and deal with it and don't give up. Right? But as soon as you start to admit to this shit and they've got it in their database, don't be surprised if at some point in the future, if you don't do what they tell you to do from whatever direction it's coming in, it could be child protection services. Well, we recommend yada yada yada. You say no. They say, you're a bitch. We're going to put you in your place. If it comes from the doctor, I recommend. You say no. Oh, you're a bitch. I'm going to put you in your place. Could be coming from the cops. Well, we recommend you do, or you do this, blah, and you say no. The cops ain't liking you now, so they're going to put you in your place. It could be anybody that's in some sort of position of power, usually connected to some sort of government agency or ministry or offshoot to their certified partners when it comes to community groups, doing charitable work or whatever. You know how the government's always offloading onto so-called charities that become certified to do the work where the government should be doing the work, right? Those kind of partner groups, right? Yeah. Right? And if enough of them got bad things to say about you, where does that leave you? It leaves you close to being committed. especially if they can force you out into the streets and make it where you have nothing and own nothing and are, well, I guess in this case, completely miserable. Because if you're miserable, then you become a risk to yourself and quite possibly to somebody else, because now you're mentally unstable because you can't break away from that misery, right? Because there's nothing there to help you to get out of it, because they're always pushing you down. It's called oppression, right? Manufactured poverty is oppressive. It's not meant to elevate. And once they've got you oppressed, they basically want to keep you there, because it all boils to economics. If you said yes to any of those, I said no. No, because I can bounce back. And I'm not going to feel guilty for missing my family, who were either illegally apprehended, murdered, had their murders cover up, or injured, like in Amari's case. I'm not going to feel guilty for being sad for that from time to time. They want you to. They want to build a case against you, and they will, if they can, and if they need to, they will use it against you. And I know this because they did it with Shimei. Shimei gets murdered, my daughter, in the house. Right from the beginning, there was shady shit going on. I called him on it. I called the cops. The hospital should have put the call out to the police to investigate, but they didn't. So I had to call. I had to badger to get somebody to start investigating Shimei's murder. They came reluctantly. They gave me a song and dance. They went away, and then they came back. And you know what they did? They pulled out Shimei's, I don't know if I had Shimei's medical records. I think I had her medical records already by this point from the hospital. And they, two of them, and they were 6'5", 6'7". Gotta watch those tall ones. Those are the shapeshifters, I'm telling you. Okay? And they said, oh, well, she killed herself. Case closed. Tisha was here. I said, no, she didn't. Tisha said, no, she didn't. Oh, yes, she did. I said, why would you say that? Oh, because in her medical file, blah, blah, blah. She was depressed or something like that. I said, oh, okay. So I pulled out I said, show me where. So he digging through the medical file. Okay. And what it was is he pulled out a piece of paper from when she was 17 years old. And yeah, she was depressed. She was feeling suicidal, right along with everybody in the house that was feeling suicidal, because Andre was illegally apprehended and disappeared for 15 fucking months. Sorry, boo-boo months. And I had to go to court 22 times fighting to get him back home. And that was an illegal apprehension. She was 17. She was pulling honors in school. And even though she was depressed and all this other stupid crap that was going on right along with everybody else in the house feeling suicidal, she still pulled in honors, people. She still pulled in honors. And those cops just wanted to write it off that she was suicidal because they didn't want to acknowledge the legal apprehension of Andre and what it did to her and the rest of her family. Instead, they tried to cover up Shimei's murder. And when we called them on it and we said, no, they said, oh, okay, well, if you don't want to accept that, then accept the fact that it was an accident. All right, you only got 1,500 people dying in the province of British Columbia, Canada, on the low ball that's being hot capped with fentanyl to one degree or another, right? And you just want to act like it's everybody doing it to themselves. It's a poison. They're being poisoned. What happened to arsenic? What if arsenic was in our communities and everybody was dying with arsenic? Would you guys then do your job? Because you're not supposed to get high off of, you can't get high off of arsenic. You can't blame the victim for getting high off of arsenic. Clearly somebody murdered them with arsenic, but because people, they go to sleep with freaking fentanyl. I don't even think they get high with it. It just caps the dopamines in their brains and everything so that they don't hurt. And then they go to sleep. And then they wake up and they can be normal for a little while. And then, the withdrawal of the drug or whatever, it starts it all over again. But for whatever reason, that's legal. That's not poison. No, the people that do that are sick with that disease from a medical medication. Fentanyl is a synthetic, manufactured, I guess, opiate, right? That the medical system uses on a daily basis with thousands of patients. But because it's controlled, it's legitimate. But on the street, it's business as usual, even though it's murder. So they couldn't convince us that she was suicidal, so they just wrote it off as she did it to herself. Yeah. So with that said, you fill out these forms, you jump through these hoops for simple procedures, basically. It's a day procedure. You're in your clothes. You got your freaking shoes on, right? They're doing like 50 at a time, running them through like an assembly line with their little issues when it comes to eyes. They send you away as fast as they can after you wake up from the anesthesia, right? But they got all the goods on you now. They got all the goods. Not only what you wrote, and if you wrote that you were depressed and you were this and you were sad and you were feeling suicidal, and oh boy, you're really making that database work hard with that energy, sucking it up and typing it in and keeping it on log, and as they're adding in more and adding in more, and then they send in the gang stalkers to see how you react to that so that person can add more to the database, because everything's going into a database. It's coming from here, it's coming in from there, right, so that when you die and your family calls the cops and said, look, so-and-so, my family member died, I want you to investigate. They'll come back, they'll look at the medical file, and this is the point. They'll look at the medical file in that database and they'll say, oh, well, right here it says that this person admitted to being suicidal. It got to the point where they ended up locking them into an involuntary care facility, right? Involuntary care facility, because they were a little loopity with their freaking depression, and they were a little loopity with their sorrow, and they were a little loopity because they lost hope in life, and blah, blah, blah. And for some strange reason, they chose MAiD, which means that they did it to themselves. Case closed. Yeah. Case closed. And just like they pillaged Shemai's body of her organs and her teeth and everything else that they robbed from her, as they put her on display for 9 days on a hospital bed, dead as a doornail, bloated like a damn whale because they embalmed her and her body was starting to rot right there on the bed. They got away with it. They got away with it, people. Huh. But they made good money. They made good money off of her body. She was 22 in her prime. Just had a baby 7 months prior. She had a full nest full of eggs to harvest. It was a gynecologist who harvested them. It was a gynecologist that doted over her dead body for 9 days. He came in with his own operating team and harvested her eggs, took out her teeth. I'm sure they took out her brain, and anything else inside that they could market. And they probably, I hate to say it, but they probably de-skinned her and put her skin on a fucking robotoid after it was all said and done. And who knows what they did with her skeleton. But I don't believe her body's in that urn. I don't. I seen too much in that hospital. I got it fucking documented on video with the exposure, with the orifice plug in the back of her mouth. There's no disputing it. I got it. I can go back and I could do it all, and I can show you where the sutures are to hold up her mouth because her mouth was dropping. There's only There's only certain things that would create that. I can show you the picture with all the tubes. They had like 7 different tubes, all running the same kind of solution through the tubes, because those tubes were running solution under her skin that had little pads. So imagine me pulling off my face, taking little pads, okay? Taking little pads like this, right? Okay? Little pads. Okay, little pads. Well, we'll do contrast. Geez. Okay, taking little pads, right? I don't know if you can see, and the lighting is terrible. Anyway, here's a little square. Where are we? Little square sticky paper, right? A little smaller than that. We'll just make them a little smaller. Here, we'll cut them into 4. Okay, so you take the face to exposure if you're suspicious through an editing program. You'll be surprised what you'll find underneath the skin. There's a little pad. Pull off the face, take out the brain for science experiments, right? And then put the pad under the skin because she had several of them under her skin. That's what exposure brought out. Okay, these things, you couldn't see them because they were under the skin, but that's what was spreading out the solution to give her face the color of being alive versus dead. Because when you're dead, you get very gray, right? So between that under the skin, spreading out solution to make it look like her, she was alive, and makeup, it was enough to fool everybody. But they had to make everybody wear smocks and gloves and tell everybody that they couldn't touch her because they didn't want them to know what she really felt like, and in terms of being embalmed, eh? And people do what they're told because they're so-called health professionals. Anyway, as after 9 days of being on the hospital bed, whatever they were pumping into her face through those little pads underneath the skin, with all those tubes with the same color running through them, because she had more than one pad on, right? It was just under the skin, right? It started to pool at the bottom of her jowl as her, was dropping, and everything was pooling. So at the bottom of her jowl was very dark in terms of the colors that were running through the tubes to make it look like a skin tone that we would identify as being alive. And then how they changed that skin tone color, okay, when they supposedly shut off the machines, even though she was dead, they just flipped this little switch that they called a ventilator, which it wasn't. It was the one that was running the colors through the tubes that was going into the pads, right? To control the color of the skin so that when you come in, it looks like, right? Within a minute or 2 or 3 or whatever it was, I don't remember exactly how many minutes, her face went completely gray, as if she died. But she was dead before she even showed up at the hospital. So that's some shady shit. And I'm supposed to trust the healthcare system. Okay, sure. So yeah, you better be careful what you write, because if you make it look like you're too depressed and you can't cope with life, you're going to be targeted. I can guarantee you at some point in the future, and something bad will happen to you. Stop it. Something bad will happen to you, and the cops will come in to investigate because your family member loves you and wants justice for you, and you will get absolutely no justice because the dirty cops are going to say, no, she did it to herself. It wasn't arsenic that she ate. It was something else that she ate. We can't quite identify the properties of it because there's no test for it, but we just know that she did it to herself, or he did it to himself. And if they die in these, Andre, please move him. I gotta go because he hears, he's just being pest right now. If you die in these internment camps in the States, well, think of Soylent Green. At least the leftovers of whatever they harvest from you or your body, because it's happening everywhere, right? And don't be surprised if somewhere down the line, over the next 10 years, maybe not under Trump administration, because everybody's trying to say Trump is trying to prevent what Canada is doing, like with this assisted suicide shit, right? And he's not allowing that to happen in the United States. Okay, sure, you're not allowing people to sign up to knock themselves off with doctor's assistance, but you're too busy, but you're definitely like on gung-ho and busy rounding everybody up like freaking, I don't know what, and locking them up into work camps and and deeming them this and deeming them that, and where many of them will probably never be released and quite possibly just disappear. Yeah. Yeah. Quite possibly. Well, they already are disappearing off the streets. Family members are already looking for their loved ones in the United States of America. Can't find them for those that have been scooped up off the streets. And the old okie dokie is, oh, well, they just moved on to a different state. They just got tired of the riffraff in the community and they just went to a new community all on their sweet self own. Yeah, sure they did. Yeah, but he also called me he used to call me every week. Now he hasn't called me for months. Well, maybe he got tired of calling you and just didn't want anything to do with you because he decided he didn't love his sister anymore. Or maybe he didn't love his mother anymore. Or maybe he didn't love his nephew anymore. Like, who knows? The point is he had a right just to stop calling you. And we're too busy as cops because, we got to fake the funk here and pretend to make it look like we're doing something for the community when, in fact, many of them are not. Many of them are not. No, they're not. They're not. Like that shit that was going on outside. That was just a big gong show. All that bravado, right? And for what? Doesn't solve homelessness. Doesn't solve medical kidnappings. Doesn't solve illegal apprehensions. Doesn't solve murder by any kind of capacity, whether it's fentanyl or whatever, when organs are being illegally harvested from those murders, right? Cops, that's why we have cops. They're supposed to solve murder, not cover it up. Yeah. So when you answer these questions, just be aware that if you make yourself look too depressed, it might come back to haunt you and be used against you to cover up something bad that happened to you at some point. Because our healthcare systems, justice systems, welfare systems, or whatever, they all seem to be geared at blaming the victim by victimizing the victims twice, right? And if you're, you probably are aware of that in terms of you've heard that saying, right? Victimizing the victims twice. And of course, the ones that are willing to jump through the hoops do the biddings of the devil worshippers or evildoers, shapeshifters, aliens, robotoids, just badass, nasty, terrible people, whatever you want to label them, it doesn't really matter. Sure, they're going to get by and maybe accumulate some wealth and, and live high on the hog and have bragging rights and, be in positions of authority where they can, just be the buttheads that they are. But at the end of the day, I don't know. People just need to be aware. Shemay didn't kill herself, and she wasn't suicidal. She was murdered. And for a dirty cop to go into her medical files in a hospital as it's collecting data, wherever that data comes in from, to use that as an excuse to say that he investigated her death and then blamed her for it was irresponsible, when they damn well know that they're a part of the harvesting of organs out here, because that's the other side of the coin that Sierra taught me with those cops guarding the robotoid that was the coroner for the province of British Columbia, Canada, with the motherboard in their hair. And you have to be watching my videos for a long time to know those videos, right? I'm going to be coming into them soon because I'm working on my playlist. And I swear, when I come into those videos, because I don't want to go hunt for them, but when I come into them, I'll do some more live streams and I'll bring that back up to the surface and I will highlight exactly what I'm talking about. And maybe you'll stick around long enough to catch those videos and you will be surprised in terms of what I say is true. Because I have no reason to say it otherwise. But if I told my doctor, who now doesn't like me because I won't take a pap test. I won't take a mammogram. I'm not going to take COVID. I'm not going to take a flu. I'm not going to take a freaking, what is that called? Shingles shot. I'm not going to take, I'm not doing none of that crap, right? You know, I might do a blood test, but now that you pissed me off, I don't even want anything to do with you. And that tells me that I probably won't be able to get eye surgery now because whatever the hospital wants me to do, it won't get done. Because whatever I'm being told to do, I'm being forced to do it. It's like extortion, do or die. Well, I guess I'm going to fucking die here. So what, you're doctor number 2 that's a freaking asshole? Is that it? Is that what's going to happen here in terms of Dr. Vasinski? Oh, well, you can't have your daughter's medical files. Take me to court. Oh, well, you don't want a mammogram? You don't want a pound? Click. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. What does a mammogram and a pap test have to do with eye surgery? Nothing. What does feeling depressed for any reason, regardless of who you are, have to do with eye surgery? Nothing. Unless, of course, they're collecting data on you that they can use against you at a later date to victimize what happens to you down the line twice. And that's the point of this video. It's a warning. That's all it is. Okay? Everybody's got their own experiences that teaches them things. I have my experiences that have taught me a lot. And has put my family at risk time after time after time after time. It doesn't take 29 hours for a professional plumber to come to a house and figure out that whatever was coming up through that hole in the basement downstairs, that's basically on the verge of ruining my life. Okay? And I have a right to be upset about it. I have a right to be depressed about it. I have a right to be angry about it or whatever other emotion I'm feeling. But as soon as you start expressing those kinds, all of a sudden there's something wrong. Just keep that in mind. Right? When they should have came at 2 o'clock, 2:30, or whatever, 3 o'clock, the day the phone call came in, looked at it. Oh, yeah, that's city sewage. That's a city pipe. That's a city pipe. There's only one place that stuff could come from is a city pipe. Did the city go out of their way to break it? I don't know. Maybe. But considering what was going on in the summertime, and I'm going to end it on this, considering what was going on in the summertime with the sewage smell coming up through my water pipe, my cold water tap, right? And with them at the corner busting up the ground to start building their building, it all was coincide with each other. As soon as they started doing what they were doing, the water started to smell, but it didn't taste it. It just smelled like it. But because the city's been gang stalking me off and on for years, because of whatever politics that go out here with these houses, I was afraid to call them when I should have called them to document it, to at least get the water tested to document it, that there was a problem, because maybe that could have been all bypassed. Or they could have tested the water and just stay with the format and say, oh, no, the water's fine. It's all in your head. It's just imagination station. No. And the pipe would have broke anyway. The point is the plumbers knew what it was as soon as they looked at it. So I kind of put the blame on the people on the corner with the building. Because if they wouldn't have started ripping up the ground, I don't think it would have happened. Otherwise, you'd have to go right out to that drain in the front and really mess it up in the dark, like a creeper. And I don't think anybody would go that far. And my neighbor, her basement, or I guess, had the same problem. And I'm going to phone her and I'll get the information on it. I think it happened when they were busting up the ground when they built that building 55 and over. And that's why that dude downstairs told me it happens more often than you think. And yeah, it has to do with property development. But you don't have a right to get depressed about it. You don't have a right to get angry about it. You don't have a right to speak up, about it in terms of anything. Because if you do, the ones that are capitalizing off of it, well, they'll just go after you even harder. That's what they'll do. So yeah, be careful when you're going now into the system, healthcare system. In a nutshell, I'm going to end this live. In a nutshell, based on what Canada is doing with MAiD, which is medical assistance in dying, which is medical assisted suicide. Okay, they just changed it to try and the title of it to try and smooth it over so it doesn't sound so up in your face. Let me kill you. It's legal, right? They've broadened the legislation over the last 10 years where they're really trying to get it where 12-year-olds can sign up without their parents' consent, 12 and up. Clearly, kids are being targeted because they're vulnerable, and they're making it where healthcare professionals are actually pushing patients to take that option before taking treatment or services for assisted living. Like, you live in your house and you're getting whatever, you got a disability, whatever your age is, or you're getting older and you need a little help with the assisted living in the home to somebody to come and help you and stuff, versus going that route. They'd rather you just sign up and knock yourself off with a nice, friendly doctor. Okay? And that's what they're pushing for. And if you Google and research and stuff and watch videos, you are going to come across people saying, I went to the doctor, I went here looking for help, asking for help, blah, 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 blah. And the only thing that these people have been offering me is MAiD. They don't want to give me anything else. They expect me to sign up with MAiD. That's a sad, 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 sad day. And if they can't get you to do it voluntarily, and this is where this part of the video comes in, if they can't get you to do it voluntarily for yourself to sign up, well, there just might come a day where they might lock you up involuntarily, call it healthcare, and then badger you in that facility by any means necessary, where eventually you get worn down and you agree to their recommended services, where you just say, sure, shoot me up and knock me out and ship me off and say goodbye. And they make money. They're not going to burn up your body. They're not going to put it in some tomb and just let it rot. No, they're going to multi-purpose it and use it for multiple things so that they can advance their technologies, improve their robotoids. Who knows? Give it to make dog food. Anything to make money. Or when they get rid of you and you lose your pensions because you're no longer alive, they don't have to pay your doctors this. They don't have to pay for this test and that test and this test, because after a while it gets to be too much because you're sick and you're just hanging on, until there's nothing left to hang on to. So you might end up costing taxpayers millions of dollars just to live an extra couple, 2-3 years. Where if they knock you off, they save millions of dollars, plus they get to make millions on your body. And it doesn't matter whether you're old or not. They take anything and everything. Because they're shysters. They're not normal. They don't care. If they cared, there would be no such thing as MAiD. Okay? If they cared, they wouldn't be so busy to try and lock everybody up as quickly as they can, and then call that healthcare, so they can clean the streets and make it look like they're fucking civil and they're doing a good job. right? If they cared, they wouldn't gaslight you on the phone or at any kind of appointment saying, well, if I'm the doctor, if you don't listen to me, you're the one that's the problem, not me. You need to take this test, this test, this test, this test in order to be able to get to that point. And if you don't get to that point by taking these tests, I guess you're out of luck. I guess you're out of luck. I'm out of luck. Oh, okay. So, does he become responsible? Who becomes responsible if I can't get surgery because I don't want a pap test? Who becomes responsible if I can't get eye surgery because I won't do a mammogram? Who comes responsible if I don't want a shingle shot, a flu shot, and a COVID shot, and maybe even a tetanus shot or whatever shot they want to give me before I go for surgery because it's recommended by the doctor? And because I didn't take any of those shots, didn't matter what it was, and I didn't take the mammogram, and I sure in the hell ain't going to let you look down there now that I'm just kind of wondering really what you're about. So forget that. That ain't happening. Well, I don't get surgery now. Does that doctor become responsible? Or is it the hospital's fault for making it? Because they're not collecting that information, people, because they care about you. They're putting it in a database so they can build a case if they ever need to hold it and use it against you. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay? I hope I made myself clear. Seriously. Let it be a warning. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace for Uncle John. No justice, no peace for Shimei Chorney. No justice, no peace for Sierra Chorney. Amari, his truth is just now coming out with one doctor, and I hope to hell he doesn't become a freaking coward, okay? I hope to hell that he stands on principle and on that oath that he took to do no harm, to cause no harm, because there's a whole lot of people out there causing nothing but harm and hide under the umbrella of quote unquote being a doctor. No justice, no peace. You remember that the next time you walk into a freaking hospital or anywhere else where somebody's wheeling around their authority and do as I say. Yeah, okay. Right.